What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you are feeling patient because I am feeling under the weather. As they say, there's stuff going around, so I'm a little bit sick. The sickness has gotten my household, my wife, my son. We got little colds, stuff like that. But it's cold outside, and so it all kind of works, but it all feels terrible at the same time. So I'm going to fight my way through this because we're here to talk about the Dallas Cowboys as we always are on the Blog and the Boys YouTube channel. Please like the video, subscribe. If you like what I do, or you want to hang out with me on any level of social media, I'm all over the place. Wherever you are, I promise you I'm there talking about the Dallas Cowboys. The links to all of my social profiles are down in the description below. It is Monday, December 29th, 2025, final days of 2025. And the next time the Dallas Cowboys play will be 2026, but it will be the last time that we see them play until the 2026 regular season. And we'll have some stuff to get to, obviously, as the week unfolds. And even though the season's ending, we're not going anywhere around here. So, again, if you subscribe, we got daily stuff happening here on the Blog and the Boys YouTube channel and across my socials, as mentioned. Kind of a weird time. It happens when you are coming off of a Thursday game the way the Cowboys are. On top of that, the Cowboys are mathematically eliminated. So there's a lot of non-important things happening to them, but there are some silly things encircling them, and that's what we're here to discuss. So first things first, shout out to John Machota of The Athletic, friend of the show. This is an older tweet. This is actually from Friday. This was the day after the Cowboys beat the Washington Commanders on Christmas Day. And Jerry was on 105.3 The Fan, and John was kind enough to transcribe what he said. As I fight back a sneeze, again, I apologize. You may have seen, actually, let's kind of set the stage here. You may have seen or not seen Logan Wilson during the Cowboys win against Washington on Christmas. This kind of became a story. Now, we're going to talk about this, but I think the important context here is the Cowboys traded for two players ahead of the deadline this year, Logan Wilson and Quinnen Williams. And obviously, the more serious draft capital was sent to acquire Quinnen Williams. And obviously, Quinnen Williams has played a lot. And obviously, he's a better player than Logan Wilson. I don't think that that's shocking or silly or whatever. Logan Wilson was had for a 2026 seventh round pick. Our friends at Cincy Jungle, SB Nation's website for Cincinnati Bengals coverage, already declared the Bengals winners off of this trade. And I recognize that Logan Wilson has not played a lot. I recognize that Logan Wilson has not had a ton of flash plays or really any flash plays. I would offer context with regards to Logan Wilson the same way I would with regards to Quinnen Williams, the same way I would with regards to Matt Eberflus, that this Cowboys season, not to the same degree as last year, but was DOA, in a lot of respects, particularly after the Micah Parsons trade. So holding anybody on defense, as solely responsible for the way things are going or have gone, I think is a little bit unfair. But that's a conversation for a different day. My point in saying all of that is when the Cowboys made the trades that they did, sure, they won 3 games in a row. We allowed ourselves to get excited and allowed our hearts to be broken yet again. But we said in the immediate aftermath of the trades, particularly the Quinnen Williams trade, that these were more about the future. And obviously, it has become more clear than it was then, although a lot of you are going to say that you knew it was clear then, that the Cowboys will probably have a different defensive coordinator in 2026. So how Logan Wilson is utilized in the future remains to be seen. But Logan Wilson was not utilized. This is the necessary context. Like I said, Logan Wilson was not utilized during the Christmas Day win against Washington. And here's what Jerry had to say about that on Friday, on the 26th, the day after. I don't have an explanation for you for why Wilson wasn't in there. We planned to have him in there. He needs to be in there. He has good instincts. The reason we got him was because he reads the play quick and can basically be in his lane of responsibility and react quick. It's critical that a linebacker have quick reacting ability. He's able to do that. That's why we got him. So I don't have a passionate take on Logan Wilson. I don't have like a massive, smoking gun sort of statement or anything like that. I saw on Monday morning, Sean Sharif of 105.3 The Fan said in a spiel on Monday morning that his I forgot how he worded it, but he didn't call it conspiracy theory, but like irresponsible theory or no justifying theory, whatever. It was a funny kind of rant from Sean, was that, he views in a conspiratorial sort of way the Logan Wilson trade to be akin to the Jonathan Mingo trade. And the way Mike McCarthy did not play Jonathan Mingo down the stretch last year because he knew he was a dead man walking could be similar to how Matt Eberflus is not playing Logan Wilson this year. Logan Wilson is not his guy. Whatever. The politics of how an NFL team operates are not something we're here to debate, but we all understand that they exist. Whatever the case, look, it is definitely strange that the Cowboys traded for Logan Wilson, that he has seen such, rare and absent playing time. Is it some sort of, message from Matt Eberflus on his potential way out? I don't know. But what I do know is that the trade was one, and this is important context that Jerry hyped up. If you recall, the day before the trade deadline, the Monday that the Cowboys got destroyed by the Arizona Cardinals, the same Cardinals who have lost 13 of their last 14 games, the lone exception being that one, Jerry went on Stephen A. Smith's show and said, we're going to have a trade tomorrow. And first thing, the Tuesday morning after the trade deadline, the Cowboys had traded for Logan Wilson. Obviously, later in the afternoon, they would trade for Quinnen Williams. This was something that Jerry Jones clearly had some level of energy behind, whatever. And so if we separate all the Jerry stuff from just Jerry being the general manager, it does make sense that he would want to see the guy he traded for on the field, particularly in these meaningless games as you're building towards the future and garnering and gathering data for all of that. So it stands to reason that Jerry has legitimate ground to stand on for wanting to see Logan Wilson play. So why hasn't he played? What is the deal here? Now, Brian Schottenheimer spoke on Monday and said that the Cowboys coaching staff messed up the rotation in the second half and that they take that as a coaching staff. Now, look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but to me, there are one of two possibilities here. The absolute best case scenario is that Brian Schottenheimer is telling the truth, and this Dallas Cowboys NFL defensive coaching staff truly messed up and can't get something simple like which players to put on the field at different points in time correct. At worst, this is admittedly a bit of a conspiracy theory. This is Brian Schottenheimer and everybody having to come up with something to justify why Logan Wilson didn't play because Jerry Jones stirred the pot. Whatever the case may be, look, I, again, don't have a passionate take on this whole situation, but we're talking about a player who did not play in a meaningless game for a team that won, and it has become this massive, massive, massive story. And the reason, if we trace it back to where it all began, was Jerry Jones going on 105 through the Fan on Friday morning, the day after the game. And so if that doesn't happen, this story doesn't happen. So it's kind of silly, but here we are. This is life with the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know what I believe, to be clear, but hey, whatever you believe, I hope you believe it with all you have. Now, with regards to what else Brian Schottenheimer said on Monday, I'm fighting back a bunch of sneezes. That's why I'm taking a breath here. Schottenheimer noted that the Cowboys do plan on finishing strong. This is a tweet from Todd Archer of ESPN, and having Dak play. He said that if players are healthy, they will play Sunday, and he wouldn't rule anybody out from playing at the moment, including guys like Javonte Williams and Jake Ferguson. So I think that if I have to pick a side between whether or not the Cowboys should play or rest starters in this meaningless Week 18 game, which just so happens to be in a stadium that is notorious for horrible injuries happening on its awful field, if I have to pick a side, if I have to lean a direction, I definitely am picking the side and leaning the direction of having your most important players not play. I understand that coaches and players want to win the game and they want to finish the season. I think there's merit to that. I don't fully dismiss the idea that you can't build culture and things like that. I don't fully buy into it either, but I don't have a real passionate stance on it. Ultimately, I think this is a real lose-lose proposition for the Cowboys, right? If they don't play their starters and they get accused of tanking and accused of quitting and accused of giving up and all sorts of other things, if they do play their starters and God forbid something terrible happens, well, obviously then the discussion becomes, you idiot, you're so dumb. Why did you do this? This was ridiculous. This was silly. You shouldn't have done it. Look what happened. You were risking it for nothing. It was meaningless. Oh, and you won the game and you costed yourselves draft position. And that's kind of life with the Cowboys. That's a sort of, I think, great, just microscopic representation of all decisions that the franchise is making these days. They are in lose-lose propositions all the time. This isn't to say that they deserve our sympathy. This is just a matter of, it's been 30 years officially now. And so everything they do is going to be doubted at every turn until they have some serious success. And they don't seem to be bothered by that. But ultimately, that is the situation as it encircles them from now until the moment that they ultimately do effectively change it, whenever that day ultimately is. So again, if you have a passionate take, I hope that it's the one that they ultimately follow. I do want to throw this tweet up here. This was a great tweet and kind of got me thinking. This isn't related to anything Brad Schottenheimer said, but it's a tweet from Dominic White. Everybody should follow on Twitter, X at Dom W. White. I'm going to zoom in here. I'll have to scroll down so you can see all of it. But this kind of, to me, encapsulates the spirit of lose-lose proposition. And Dominic and I had a bit of a chat about this on Twitter as well, and we kind of agreed. So let's read through the tweet first. Cowboys keep choosing wrong or are snake bitten with their decision to keep or let homegrown players walk. Former drafted players allowed to leave in free agency the last few years that have had a solid season. Tony Pollard with the Titans, Rico Dowdle with the Panthers, DeMarcus Lawrence with the Seahawks, Deshaun Wright with the Bears. That one obviously was an interesting one. Michael Jackson with the Panthers, Jordan Lewis with the Jaguars, and Chidobe Awuzie with the Ravens, although Cheeto obviously had a great run with the Bengals as well. And these are homegrown players who the Cowboys extended that have struggled. This is struggling with the Cowboys after getting their extension, and therefore serve as arguments for don't give these guys extensions in the future. Look what happened when you gave Trayvon Diggs money, or Deron Bland, or Hunter Lipke, or Kevontae Turpin, Terrence Steele, Jake Ferguson, Donovan Wilson, Osa Odigizua, and Dominic added homegrown players that were extended that have been worth their salt: Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Tyler Smith. And the Tyler Smith one certainly changes if he's playing left tackle in the future, but that's obviously a discussion for a different day. Okay. I know it's frustrating that DeMarcus Lawrence is playing very well on a Seahawks team that could win the NFC, could be the number one seed in the NFC, right? Like, whatever, you get the picture. We've seen Chidobe Awuzie go to the Super Bowl with the Cincinnati Bengals. We saw Tyler Biadasz and the other 400 Cowboys that Dan Quinn signed go to the NFC Championship game last year. And I don't think the Cowboys have really made a mistake. Could we argue and quibble about, oh, they should have kept Jordan Lewis. Oh, they should have kept Tyron Smith before he left for the Jets, right? Like, we could pick one moment in time, Tony Pollard if you want. I don't think the Cowboys really erred in those decisions. My issue is not with the players who they let walk. My qualm and my issue is with them not having a plan. I have said ever since the 2023 wild card obviously broke them, but this disposition stems way back before then. They don't have a North Star. I can square if the Cowboys are letting Tony Pollard and Jordan Lewis and Chidobe Awuzie and Tyron Smith and pick whoever else you want walk in free agency. I can square that. I can square if they're not signing a bunch of players in free agency. I don't agree with it. I don't like it, but I can square it. I can square logic that I don't agree with if it's all geared towards a certain idea, if it's all geared towards a certain North Star, if all of your energy, if all of your resources are moving in a singular direction. I may not agree with that direction, but at the end of the day, you have a plan and all of your efforts, all of your concentrated will is moving towards that one idea. The problem with the Cowboys in all of these situations, all of these examples is, look, they don't sign one guy, but then they sign this guy and then they wait on extensions or whatever. Like, they're just kind of topsy-turvy and they don't have a singular overall goal that all of their energy is driving towards. And I don't normally like takes like the one I'm about to share with you, but we're at a point where I think we have to consider it. We're so far down the rabbit hole that some things that maybe seemed silly or foreign or whatever to us in the past maybe, deserve some merit at this point in time. And what I think is, when we consider players who have left the Cowboys who have had success elsewhere, I think a lot of that can be lumped up to coincidence. I think a lot of that can be lumped up to, man, it just keeps happening. It's just kind of funny at this point that it's happening to the Cowboys over and over and over again. But I do think that it's worth considering, or at least worth talking out loud about. Maybe players need to get away from the Cowboys, right? Like, and this is not a woe is me, woe is the Cowboys, but clearly playing for the Cowboys involves playing under a 30-year-old shadow at this point in time. And it must be alleviating, right? Like, just on a human level, it must be liberating to go somewhere else and not have to deal with the circus. And we've obviously heard players talk about the tours and the whatevers, and I'm not necessarily trying to go down that road. But I do wonder, because it has happened so often now at this point, I don't think it's misevaluation of talent that the Cowboys should have kept. And I also acknowledge that it is just a funny run and string of coincidences that this keeps happening over and over and over again. But I do wonder, I do think we have to at least consider that maybe getting away from the Cowboys, getting away from the pomp and circumstance of it all is beneficial for players on an individual level. And that obviously ripples into the team that they ultimately wind up joining. Wow. I'm pretty pumped that I made it through this whole video without sneezing once. It was very, very, very difficult. Some are calling me a hero. If you want to, it's up to you. But if you want to call me a hero on social media, you can find me at any of my social profiles down below. Please like the video. Please subscribe. Also, we got things happening each and every single day here on the Blog and the Boys YouTube channel. For now, I'm going to get out of here because I do feel a sneeze coming along. Thanks so much, everybody, for hanging out. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm going to drink this medicine ball. I've never had one of these from Starbucks. I'm really looking forward to it and seeing how it ultimately works out. But yeah, let's go ahead and get out of here before the sneeze ruins this whole thing. So thanks so much, everybody, for hanging out, and we will see you next time.